Today in the podcast, I'm going to be talking about the current statistics we are seeing in the London market as we are deep into the fall of 2024, getting really ready for 2025 now. And I'm also going to be telling you about what you can do if you would like to make a move in 2025 to prepare yourself for the market. My name is Phil Bailey, and this is the London, Ontario Real Estate Podcast. So today on the podcast, I want to first talk about the stats that we've seen for October, which is the most recent stats. We are into November of 2024, which means that we're almost at the end of the year, and the stats have changed a little bit. I think one of the biggest things I've noticed is that sales activity actually increased if you compare to 2023 of the same time period. So October 2024, we saw 661 sales or transactions recorded in the London area for real estate. In 2023, we only saw 526. So percentage-wise, it's actually quite a bit of an increase, but we've also seen a lot of new listings being added. So we had 1,388 new properties enter the market, which was actually down again slightly from October 2023. But sales are happening, so it's giving me some confidence. I think interest rates going down is definitely changing the narrative a little bit, but I haven't seen this, interest rates went down, so now the floodgates have opened. I think there's maybe some cautious optimism right now in the market. But what I say to everyone is that you should purchase or make a move when you're ready to make a move. You should not try to time the market. I don't think that timing the market is a good idea for almost anyone. I never would time the market or try to, even as someone who sees literally hundreds of houses every year. I still would be very, very careful on that because there's more factors than just interest rates. And if you're buying a home for your family, you have to consider that it is not just an investment opportunity for you. Yes, it can certainly help, but it's also somewhere where you need to live, and you want to make sure that you're in the neighborhood that you want to be in, the home type you want to be in, something that you and maybe future kids or whatever you want to do with your life means that you have, opportunity to really enjoy that home. So there's always kind of two factors there, but that's kind of what we're seeing in terms of statistics that we're seeing. I wouldn't pay too much attention to just general stats, and I've said this before on the podcast. If I were looking at a certain neighborhood, I could look at stats in a certain neighborhood. I think that's much more valuable to someone that either is a homeowner already or potentially wants to become a homeowner in that area. I think that if you ask me for stats on, say, Brokerage or Old North or Old East Village right now, I can give you a much clearer understanding of what's been happening with home sales there. Yeah, that's going to be a snapshot, but we have to look at trends over the last couple years. But I think there is some hope ahead of 2025 with those interest rates going down. I think if you're a buyer right now, you're going to see quite a bit of inventory in the market. But I think what you're going to see probably over the next few weeks is that inventory start to get taken off the market with cancellations happening. And then maybe, a boom with listings again as we get into 2025. So I think that kind of talks about what we are seeing right now. But what can you do if you're looking at making a move in 2025? And I think most people, even if you're put an offer in a house today, you're probably going to be making that move in 2025 with, a 60-day close, and is a kind of my average that I've been seeing this year. So what should you be thinking about right now? You should be thinking about, again, I've said this before on podcasts, your criteria. You should be talking to a mortgage broker or your bank to make sure that you have your pre-approval in place. You should be talking, if you have a spouse or someone you're purchasing with, you should be making sure that you're on the same page with that. And honestly, maybe start looking at some properties, get an idea of what may work. I've done some open houses lately, and they've been actually significantly more busy than I saw even over the summer, or even honestly, probably a little bit before the summer. They're quite busy. I think there's people looking around, doing their research, and getting ahead of the game. I say these people, and I said this before on the podcast again, these are like the keeners. These people are ready to go, and they might wait till spring of 2025, but if they are waiting that long, they've already done their research and they'll be ahead of the game. I think the people that I sometimes worry about a little bit, there's people that call me in May and the market is started moving maybe a little bit more quickly. I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball to tell you that's going to happen, but say that would happen, which is something that's happened in previous years. Even last spring, it was definitely moved way quicker than what we were seeing in the summer, or even right now, to be honest. I'm seeing that. So if you're going to prepare for that, you want to kind of make sure your pre-approval is done. Maybe they need a job letter. I've had people wait weeks for job letters. So make sure you get that stuff done. If you need a mortgage broker or a contact for that, just send me a message. I'm happy to put you in touch with a competent person in London who knows what they're doing. I think that's a huge thing to get done before you get into 2025, if you are going to look at purchasing in 2025. And then the other thing I say, and this is something I want to talk a little bit more on the podcast, is when you are looking at homes, what should you be thinking about in terms of those showings? I think there's a lot of people that go into a house and they say, yeah, that looks nice. I like the look of that house. Maybe it fits the floor plan that you're looking for, which is exceptionally important. I think floor plan and location, those are the two things you need to really, really focus on first. But when we're looking at things, and I'm a buyer's agent, and I went out with clients this week, and I said, for the first time I went out with clients, and I said, I'm kind of like the one kind of finding potential problems when I'm working with buyers. And I'm saying, hey, did you think about this? Did you think about this? Did you think about the roof age? Did you think about the furnace age? Those are things that you're going to have to fix maybe over time, or potentially I might raise a question about layout. Does that work for what you and your family are looking for? So I think some of the main things you want to be looking for are, definitely look at your foundation. I know you're not a home inspector. I would always recommend hiring someone to do that when you get to that conditional period. But look at that foundation, look at your roof, look at your AC, your furnace, your electrical, the ages of things. Maybe look at how well the property's been maintained, which I know is not always easy. But that's why if you're working with a real estate agent, someone that does this every single day, they're going to have an understanding of, hey, that's concerning me. Again, I'm not a home inspector either, so I would recommend hiring someone that knows more than I do and can definitely be your eyes and ears on those types of issues and give you a full report that's obviously from someone who's a professional. But I still think there's a lot of stuff we can probably catch ahead of time. This week I was talking to folks about electrical issues that you see in some houses. Aluminum wiring, if they haven't done anything with that, can raise an issue sometimes with insurance companies. So these are things that we want to be looking at as we're looking at houses. And if you call me in May again and you say, hey, let's look at all these houses that I've seen that have come on the market now, if the market were to move quicker, you may be behind the eight ball a little bit with people that have already had these conversations with me right now. So again, it's not a perfect equation. It doesn't work for everyone, but I wouldn't just go out in 2025 and think you're going to buy a house on the first or second one that you buy. But potentially if you're ahead of the game and you know what you're looking for, sometimes it does make your process a lot less stressful. The other thing that I'm seeing right now is, I think in a way there may be a really good opportunity for people that are looking at buying and selling right now to upgrade their home. So people that say have a $400,000 or $500,000 house right now that want to buy, say, a $700,000 or $800,000 house. I'm noticing more and more with my clients that they're in those positions. And what I find interesting is that say a $400,000 bungalow in London right now, which isn't very hard, it's quite hard to find. But if you can find somebody, say, under 500,000 even in a good area, it'll probably sell quite quickly. And if you're priced right and you're well maintained and you've done all the things that I usually tell folks to do to prepare their house for sale, it'll probably sell very quickly. The thing is if you move up to a $700,000 or $800,000 price point, those homes sometimes are sitting a little bit longer. So you have potential now to add I hate to say it, but a house to sell condition. So why do I hate to say that? Because it definitely can slow down my job in many ways. So I'm trying to, cover for myself as well sometimes and make sure that, I'm getting actual people to buy and sell. But I think what's great about a house to sell condition, it protects my clients and makes sure that they're not just throwing caution to the wind and purchasing without knowing what they can get for their current house. I think one of the most dangerous things you can do right now is overestimate the value of your house and think you're going to get a deal on the other side. And I think that that's just, you're buying and selling in the same market. Say you're buying and selling in London. Yeah, if you're buying in a completely different market, maybe that's different for you. But if you're buying and selling in the London area, London, St. Thomas, whatever, you're probably not going to get this crazy deal on one side and then sell for an inflated price based on what the market's doing right now. There are exceptions, of course. Certain areas, certain home types are moving quite quickly, but I think you have to consider that. So if you have a less expensive home and then you're moving up the property ladder to get to the next one, you could have a very good opportunity, I think, with all the inventory you're seeing right now, to sell your home that's less expensive. It might move quicker and then move up the property ladder to something more expensive. Again, that's not always perfect, and that's why I think house to sell condition is something that I didn't even see very often for a lot of my time as a real estate agent. And now that that's back in a big way, probably more popular now than I've probably ever seen. And I've been doing this for almost 10 years. I think that's interesting, that you have that opportunity, you have that kind of tool in your tool belt right now to use. The other way to do it, I think, if you're moving up and purchasing a more expensive property is, some people will just sell first and then buy. That's probably the safest way to do it, because then you have an idea of what to work with in terms of how much money you have in terms of that firm deal. But I would say that it still can create a bit of stress for someone, because then they feel like they don't want to be homeless. Obviously, they don't want to be in a situation where they don't have a house. So then they're potentially having to move twice with renting, getting in a very stressful situation. So I think with those folks, what they're usually doing is they're selling first. And we've done this strategy with a few clients: sell first, do a long closing date, give yourself ample time to be able to buy that next property. And then you can go in with that next property with maybe a financing condition for a few days in a home inspection, but you're not having to do a house to sell condition. And you got to remember, house to sell conditions cost you money in most cases. They're not free. A seller that is looking at a house to sell condition offer versus someone that isn't, you're going to probably lose like every single time, even if you're at a more expensive price sometimes, which I know sounds crazy to people, but that's just kind of how it works. So that's what I would think about ahead of 2025. I think there's some unique opportunities right now in the market. And I think that if you see interest rates come down again in December, which is what most people are talking about happening, I think you could see a busier spring of 2025. Again, I don't have a crystal ball to tell you exactly what I think is going to happen. Anything else can happen. I can't tell the future for you. But I would prepare yourself if you want to make a move and you're looking at maybe running out of space in your current home. Or you want to move from a condo to a house. There's a lot of clients I've been talking to you right now that are in those situations. And I think that the folks that have had the conversations with me right now are going to be in a much better position ahead of 2025. So again, my name is Phil Bailey. If you have any questions about real estate in the London area, London, St. Thomas, Strathroy, I'll go on the other side of town as well, like really all the way out to, Ingersoll, Woodstock, getting out that way, and of course south of town as well, all the way to the lake. You can give me a call or a text. My number is 226-977-2348. If you have a real estate agent, please talk to them. Don't talk to me, because I don't want to step on any of my colleagues' toes. But if you have a real estate question about something happening for you in 2025 or even right now, I'm always happy to help. If you have a suggestion for something we talk about on the podcast, I'd love to hear that suggestion. This is the London, Ontario Real Estate Podcast. My name is Phil Bailey. I'm a real estate agent with HouseSigma in London, and I'm always here to help. Have a great day. Take care.